Hey guys, I'm Bad Look Ahead, and today we're going to be looking at 7 different ways to solve a 3x3 Rubik's Cube. So the first method we're going to be looking at today is the beginner's method, which I'm sure you're all familiar with already. So you start by bringing all of the white edge pieces onto the yellow face and around the yellow center to make a daisy. Then you line up all of the white edge pieces with their correct centers, and you bring them down onto the white face to make a white cross. Then you find the corner that goes in its spot and you insert it, and you do that for all of the corners around the cube on the white face. So you now made a white layer. Then you're going to insert the edges into the correct slot in the second layer using an algorithm. Then you're going to orient the edges of the top layer to make sure that they're all facing yellow up. Then you permute the edges using an algorithm called soon. Then you turn the cube upside down and you move the corners around or permute them into their correct spaces. We're not caring about the orientation at the moment. Then you orient the corners using sexy move. Our next method is the cfop or fridrich method. Cfop stands for cross, F2L, OLL, and then PLL. It's also called the Fridrich method because it was pioneered by a nice lady called Jessica Fridrich. So our first step is we make a white cross on the bottom with all of our centers and edges lining up. Then you make these pairs of corners and edges and insert them into their slots in a process called F2L, or first two layers. And you do that for all of the edges and corners around the cube. Then you solve the top layer, or you orient the top layer in either 1 or 2 looks, and then you permute the top layer, or move the pieces into their correct spot in either 1 or 2 looks. That's the cfop method. Our next method that we're going to look at is the roux method. So the roux method is a nice block building method created by a French speedcuber called Gilles. So our first step is to make a 1x2x3 block. So we've got our 1x2x3 block here. Then you make another block on the other side. Then you solve the corners of the top layer in either 1 or 2 looks using CMLL. Then you orient the edges of the top and bottom layer. And finally, you solve the last 6 edges intuitively. There you go, that's the roux method. Fourth method is the ZZ method. Stands for zbigniew, I think. So you start by orienting all the edges on the cube, which I am not terribly good at, I must say. That should be all oriented. Then you solve a cross in a step called EO cross. Then you solve your F2L just like in cfop, but this time you don't do it with any rotations, which makes it much more efficient. And because we did our EO, we're going to have a nice yellow cross on top, which allows us to do one of 496 algorithms called ZBLL, none of which I know, so I'm going to do this the cfop way. That's the ZZ method. Our next method is the petrus method, invented by a guy called Lars Petrus, quite a while ago actually. So what you do is you start off by building a 2x2x3 block. Then you do a thing called edge orientation, which basically, it's similar to ZZ. It allows each edge to be solved using just R and U moves, no nasty Fs or Bs or Ds or anything like that. Again, I'm not very good at it, but I can give it a shot. Then you solve your last pairs, again, using only what we call natural moves, which are these, you know, R's, U's and stuff. And then you have a yellow cross on top, just like in ZZ. And then you can do ZBLL, which again, I don't know, because I'm not weird. And it just allows you to have better cross cases and stuff. And that's the petrus method. Penultimate method is the ZB method, which stands for Zbigniew brukum. And yes, that's the same Zbigniew from the ZZ method. So what you do first is, so this is a derivative of cfop. So you start by building your white cross, or any cross if you're color neutral. Then you solve your F2L pairs, just like in cfop. And then for the last pair, you do a thing called ZBLS, which is quite a few algorithms, which I don't know. So you can also do it intuitively by just placing the edges into their right slots and doing sledgehammers and stuff. And again, you've got a yellow cross on the top, which allows you to do, wait for it, ZBLL, which I forgot to explain, stands for Zbigniew brukum last layer, and it basically solves the whole top layer in one go. Again, I don't know ZBLL, so I'm just going to do it the cfop way. That's the ZB method. Last but certainly not least, we have the cfce method, which is, wait for it, another derivative of cfop. So we start by doing our cross, the same as cfop, ZB, all those other ones. Then, guess what? You do F2L again. But here's where it gets different. So instead of solving the edges, you now solve the corners instead using CLL, which is just like COLL, or CMLL from roux. I don't know it, so I'm going to do it in 2 looks. And then you solve the edges using ELL, which again, I don't know full ELL, so I'm going to do it in 2 looks. That's our last method, the cfce method. Oh yeah, and cfce stands for cross F2L CLL ELL. So that there was 7 different ways of solving a 3x3 Rubik's Cube. So I am planning on making a follow-up to this with other methods like APB, Meta, Jacob, Ribbon, all of those. But I don't have enough time at the moment, so if you want to see those, subscribe. And I also have a Discord server, which is just in the description below. And yeah, thanks for watching.